America's top Army commander, General Ray Odierno, said just yesterday that if the fight against the terrorist army does not improve, President Obama should consider putting U.S. troops on the ground to help the Iraqi forces. General Odierno is retiring. This is his last week on the job. President Obama has said time and time again that the United States will not be putting boots on the ground to fight ISIS. The United States has spent billions and billions, yea, $500 billion, and teamed up with allies to launch thousands and thousands of airstrikes. But the terrorists still control large parts of Iraq and Syria, largely because the Iraqis won't fight. General Odierno has also said that Iraq may essentially need to split into multiple countries, and he is not the first to say that. It's arguably already multiple countries. Those multiple ones in the split would draw a sharp response from Iraq's prime minister, who called the comment irresponsible. Hello, pot. This is kettle. Mike Barrett is a former Defense Intelligence officer. He is now director of the Center for Homeland Security and Resilience, which calls itself a nonpartisan think tank that focuses on Homeland Security. Mike, good to see you.
How you doing, Shep?
Boots on the ground. That's what ISIS wants. Why not give them what they want? Give them some boots.
Yeah, it's a terrible, terrible thing. I know General Odierno. He's a very smart guy, and he's right from a military perspective, which means if you actually want this, this broken, defeated Iraqi army to have success against ISIS, you're going to have to put the Americans in there to give them some backbone and to be able to carry out the coordinated strikes. But I'm telling you, Shep, that's simply the wrong question. The right question is, should we be doing that at all? Should we be trying to put Humpty Dumpty back together again? And that's really where we just have it absolutely backwards.
We have a hard time. We have a much easier time, it seems, as a nation and as a warring machine, correcting the answer than we do correcting the question. So many like you are saying, can we think of this in another way that doesn't include these antiquated and like almost mythical lines?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, these boundaries that we drew, 100 years ago, then we called this nation-state Iraq, at the time was designed actually to keep ethnic communities that didn't like each other into one single entity so that they would remain weak because they'd be fighting each other. And, that worked okay when you had a madman, Saddam Hussein, a strong man who was there with the big hammer to force everybody into being underneath his thumb. But now that you don't have that anymore, what you have is the Iranian-backed Shias out of Baghdad trying to exert their control across the entirety of the country. And naturally, the Sunnis and the Kurds are saying, no, we're not going to accept that. And so what you need to do is be realistic about the situation on the ground, not the situation we'd like it to have.
Yeah. So if you're not talking about the boundaries as drawn 100 years ago, what would the new plan be in this sort of new new plan?
Sure. So you're going to end up having a Kurdish region, which is extremely autonomous and has their own borders. They'll be able to take care of themselves. Right. That takes care of that piece. You're going to have a piece of Syria and a piece of Iraq that ends up being under Sunni domination. Now, that's going to be the tricky one over time because ISIS has a foothold there, and we are going to have to partner with the local Sunni tribes to go after the ISIS extremists in the Sunni part of what is currently Iraq and Syria. That's going to be the really hard part. And other than that, you're going to have this remnant state that's going to be essentially dominated by Iran. The Shia that are there in Iraq dominated by Iran, which is the facts on the ground today as it is, Shep. That's the thing. All we're saying here is let's recognize it as it is, and then let's deal with the facts as they are, not keep trying to put the pieces back together in this failed strategy.
Does that eliminate the vacuum in a hypothetical absence of Assad?
Well, it doesn't. What I think, actually, honestly, you're going to end up doing is you're going to cut a deal with Assad and you're going to leave him in control of about half of Syria, right? So he can have his piece. You've got this other piece that becomes Sunni-dominated. But again, we can work with the local Sunnis. It's exactly what Petraeus did in 2006 and 2007. We had the so-called awakening of the Sunni tribes who kicked out al-Qaeda. We've got to give them something to fight for so that the Sunni tribes will help us kick out ISIS. But you can't do that when you're trying to come in alongside the Shia. They're just not going to accept it.
It's interesting to see how things have devolved when we talk about a man who's killed hundreds of thousands of people and you got to partner up with him.
I don't want to partner up with him, but sometimes you got to take the lesser of all evils. And at the end of the day, we got to figure some kind of stability over there so we can focus on the other important aspects that are going on.
Wow, Mike Barrett. Good to talk to you. Thank you.
Sure thing, Shep.